Hello, and welcome to Blackness, a DreamWeek Essay 2021 panel discussion centered on the Black experience in America. This is to provide an opportunity for a variety of Black voices in the community to have a dialogue with the aim of defining the idea of Blackness and providing broad commentary on its different associations within our culture. I'm your host, Tiffany Smith, and I'm going to get us started today with a definition of the word Black. A simple Google definition is of the very darkest color, owing to the absence or complete absorption of light, the opposite of white. From there, it goes on to say, of any human group having dark-colored skin, especially of African or Australian Aboriginal ancestry. From there, it continues on, and it says, characterized by tragic or disastrous events, causing despair or pessimism. It's the opposite of joyful. It's the opposite of cheerful, presenting tragic or harrowing situations of comic terms. It's the opposite of pleasant. It's the opposite of friendly. It's very evil or wicked. So, with that being the definition of Black, how does that make you feel?
The problem for me is that particular color was put on us, and so it was defined by those other than us, and so that's the problem. First of all, Black. For me, I don't let others define it. I feel that it is a very strong color, and it's attached to a strong people, but it is also, I mean, we are African American, so they've taken the origin of the people that we are and turned it into a color. When I say they, I say society, whatever. It's taken that and turned it into a color and negatorized it. Is that a word, negatorized?
Negatorized. We understood you. We understood you.
Yeah. Negative. But for me, it's powerful. I was listening to a TED Talk and they were saying Black is a superpower. Mm-hmm. And that's the way I feel it is. I mean, it's strong, it's powerful, and it connects, as if I can use Hakeem Matabuti, one of my favorite poets and intellectuals, it connects to one's color, one's culture, and one's consciousness. Mm. And for me, that is the connection of Black for me. And from there, it is taken on an individual basis because everyone is not connected to their culture or everybody is not conscious, you know, so, I mean, I can take from there, we can talk about color, culture, consciousness, but for me, that is what Blackness is derived from, one's color, one's culture, and one's consciousness. How you perceive yourself, how you define yourself is something that should be personalized, not devalued by a Webster definition in a dictionary. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's my take on it. So,
well, Ada, you definitely spelled out, I think, my definition as well. But I want to add to what you said. You know, it's our ability to define other people's culture. That is what Black is. We've seen through historical facts of Black people being able to walk into a room, walk into a nation, walk into a place, and literally change the mindset of people, whether it's Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, you know, Michael Jackson, LeBron James. These are individuals that their ability to really, really effect change within their community is a key attribute. And that's what Black is, because you have a lot of folks who don't have that ability to. As a group of people, we are told to stay down, as the definition you define is negative. Stay where you are, don't come close. But we walk past that with our strength, and we change people in the process. So that's what Black is to me.
Miss Poet Laureate?
Yes, please.
I got a few poems about what I feel that Black is, but to answer your question that you said, how does that definition in particular make me feel? And when I heard the definitions that you were spelling out, I thought, this is what colonization defines us as, and this is what they have continually perpetuated onto us. So whether we were having a good day or not, here comes colonization to make it bad, make it uncheerful, make it dark, make it something that it's, and I felt like no matter when you're trying to break out of some of these definitions, there are things that are trying to frame you back into those things. And so therefore, that's the lens through which you're viewed. What do I feel Black is? I feel that Black is so many things because Blackness is not limited to one ethnic group, because there are people who might identify as Latin and they're also Black. There are people who are Asian and they're also Black. And so you find that Blackness, because we were spread out through the diaspora all over the globe, you know, the Blackness shows up in so many places that you had no idea that it would be, and it affects the culture. Like you said, everywhere it goes, it's going to affect change in the most unique and positive ways, I believe, and redefine it oftentimes, or add something that was not already there. So I think that part of what I think of when I think of Black, I think of soul, I think of spirit, I think of the most inherent parts of me that I can't learn, because it is who I am. And then there's other things that we could add to that. There's the little A's and the little B's and C's, you know, the little sub things that go under that. But for me, I just think it's so many things. And then it's, when we were talking before we came out here, I was like, Black is uncomfortable because of so many things that have been put on us. When I wake up some days, I feel comfortable in my skin, but then other people come into contact with me and they begin to feel uncomfortable. So there's also that aspect, but yeah, we're dealing with it.
For me, I would say that it brings some sense of sadness when you hear the negative connotations that they put on Black, but it also allows you to understand culture. And what we're dealing with here is the culture of our oppressors forcing their opinions negatively on us. And so, you know, you're dealing with that systemic racism and the Willie Lynch syndrome and things where they decide that, you know what, in order to demonize this group of people, we're going to use these words to define them. And I'd rather, what I see when I see Black, I never see any of those words. What I see Black is I see excellence. I see beauty. I see resilience. I see a people that no matter what we've been through and no matter where we've been, we always find a way to rise back to the top. So I see that Black is when I think of Black, you know, it makes me proud to be Black, because I see one of the strongest group of people that exist anywhere in the world.
And you got to look at, I mean, Black it's gone through stair steps. I mean, we started off in terms of defining. We started off, you know, coming over here very on unbalanced ground, you know, going through the whole Ma'afa, you know, being stripped from our heritage, our culture, our language, coming to another country through slavery. We didn't start off as Black. Started off, I don't know, probably niggas and colors and Negroes. So I think Black was redefined in the 60s. I know, it was redefined in the 60s with the civil rights movement and the James Brown, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, and just giving a whole new aura to you know, people of color, people of African descent. So I think that it's gone through some transitions. But I mean, I did a film on this when you're talking about racism, and little kids, that's where it needs to start in terms of making that color something that is proud and strong and soulful and rich. And so it needs to start on that level when you talk about Blackness, because that's where, once they get from the 2 stage on up, that's where society bombards them with negativity. Attached to that color. So it starts a very, very small is where we need to start really dealing with the color, with the heritage, being connected to Africa, being African American, Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Asian, whatever. But I think the two need to work in pandemonium in terms of really making that definition our own and making it something strong and that to build pride in the race of people that are attached to African. So, yeah.
I'm sorry, I just took over. I didn't introduce none of y'all. And y'all just went with me on the
Great
ride.
thing is with taping, now you can go back and do those introductions.
Tiffany, if you guys want to keep rolling, we'll reshoot that intro.
Thank you. I just had to bring that to everybody's attention because I'm not the moderator. Uche is the moderator. So everybody kept looking at I know, people kept looking at me and it's like, wait a minute, this isn't
I didn't
my
know.
party.
I'm still trying to get used to this party.
This is supposed to be his
I love it.
party.
No, it's your party. I know, please. Look,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. We can round robin it. We can help each other out.
Yeah, please.
Yes,
let's.
we can help each other out with it. That's cool.
Yeah. Nah, that's okay. That's all right. We got it.
Thanks for having us, though.
You want me to tackle the second question? So you did the first one, and we can just.
Yeah. And we'll just let it flow because y'all brought up some great stuff. And
Yeah.
What if we stopped and did the introduction right now? That way, we don't have to worry about trying to do it later.
I'll do it at the end, at the very, very end.
Okay.
Mhm. I'll do it at the end.
Because I was going to try to segue from.
No.
Okay. So.
Yes.
I think so.
They're
I
recording.
see a head somewhere.
They're
there
recording.
It goes.
They didn't stop.
Okay.
They'll edit.
They'll edit it. So we got a lot of great feedback from everyone defining what Black is to them and how that makes them feel. So let's talk about Black culture. So a lot of us brought up, how Black culture, affects other cultures. How, whether you're from Haitian descent, slavery descent, African descent, Jamaican, I don't want to say this, island descent, all those cultures affect their corresponding cultures around them. So start with Ada, can you share just a little bit of how that makes you, how you feel your culture, or you as an individual have affected the people around you?
Well, I mean, people of African descent we're everywhere. We're everywhere. I was in Italy once, and there were some Senegalese selling handbags. I was like, am I in New York? I mean, it's just so funny. But I think what connects the culture is the history. I think there's a commonality in our history. If we're talking about Africans in America, African Americans, there's a commonality in our history. But that commonality is so funny. It's like the foods you eat, the rhythms, the songs you like. I mean, Blackness, the blues, all of the jazz, the rhythm. It's connected in our history, our culture in terms of connecting music and arts, and food. There's a connection there. The Caribbean food is very much from the Louisiana food. I mean, soul food connects to. Our dirty rice may be jollof rice in Nigeria,
let's not argue
or
about
pizza
jollof
rice in Jamaica. The food. The culture plays a key role in how we identify with Blackness, and that adds to the richness of our heritage. That to me is just so affirming. I love being Black. Can you imagine? If there were no Black people in the world, if there were no Black people in America, America wouldn't even been built.
It's crazy.
Yes.
So what we add to the culture, what we have brought to the culture of America being here, what we have added has really, I can't even imagine what America would be without us. Even under the harsh conditions and the racism and the segregation, everything that we've had to endure, this joint would not be operating without Black folk. If you think about it, I don't know. Jump in, y'all.
I was gonna say, I actually think that that's really important to note, And also what I find to be so amazing about that is the fact that if you think about from the moment we got here and everything we went through to try to strip that culture from us, everything from being beat, out of our names, to taken away from our parents, to rape, to, enslaved, everything to try to break us as a people and take us away from that culture. And if you truly think about all the creative ways that our ancestors had to sneak
Survive.
that culture through song and through dance and different things, through music, all the different things that stayed with us and still to this day define us. I think when you look at that, it shows you the amazing will of Black people and that Black spirit. It just shows you that that unbreakable spirit, and I think that that's very powerful.
Vocab.
It is.
As a poet laureate, I think you could speak on culture quite effectively on how, you are a poet laureate for San Antonio, and you literally broke a glass ceiling, to say the least.
Wow.
To say the least.
Wow.
As the first Black poet laureate, I don't know if we had a male poet laureate, but
We had one. He was right before me, Octavio.
Oh,
yeah.
well,
but
first black female. Those are some of those effective pop cultural glass ceiling breaking that you've been doing. So can you talk to us about that?
So I was a part of a rap song one time called Soul Force. And my verse, I did an analogy that slavery and Black people are much like a drum. The harder you beat us, the louder we get. And when you hear the sound of the drum, and you think about a drum, first you think about the making of a drum, it takes skin that is stretched over to cover, the hollow part. And then you begin to beat on it, and the harder you beat on it, the louder it gets. And when you start to beat the drum, that's when things begin. Ceremonies begin, oration, gatherings begin. So people are drawn to that sound of, and I feel like with Black people, people are drawn to the sound of us, the smell of us, the look of us. Everything about us intrigues, and it draws people in. And then it's mysterious to me and glorious in the fact that I can meet somebody from clear across the country, and we'll be speaking the same dialect, speaking the same way, having the same things. We'll react the same to something that is like other people wouldn't react the way Black people gonna react to that. And you don't even gotta say nothing. You just look a Black person in the eye, and you know that they're having the exact same thought that you're having about a situation, whether good or bad.
Right,
And
the
so,
certain connection.
and yeah, it is an unspoken connection. But we don't need the word. So it's like it has to be in the bloodline. It has to be genetic. There has to be that coding and that memory that maybe the connection to all. And I think it's like the spirit and the soul that's connected to motherland, that's connected to whatever that we can't even put into words. But when we see it, when we smell it, when we hear it, we know what it is, and it is a powerful force.
It's so funny. I was gonna say, when you said that you didn't have to say anything, I thought about what just recently happened at the Capitol. Every Black folk that I know was like, if Black folks were doing that march, it wouldn't have turned out like that.
A lot of
And that was like a universal thing.
hashtags going out that
That was
day.
like a universal thing. If Black folks were doing that, even the Black Lives Matter, they were doing it. I mean,
They were
yeah.
But we already
something-
knew it wasn't us.
Yeah.
It was like, you hear a certain thing happened in the. Oh no, that wasn't us.
Nah, you knew
That
I
was
was
not us.
but you know the very interesting scenario of all of that? The police officers who were Black trying to stop the white protesters from coming into the Capitol. The Black and Hispanic janitors who were later on called in to clean up the mess that was made in the
That's something.
Capitol. So it goes back to your point that without Black people, this country will not be here.
It
Just-
operates off
it
our
operates
very
off our
backs.
very back, sweat and blood on any given day.
Yep.
And unfortunately, it even ties into you think about the industrial prison complex and how even in the prison system, there's still they're in prison, but still doing work for this country.
Yesterday, I was in the office of a politician, and she didn't mean anything negative by it, but she was showing us some of the great woodwork that was in her office, and she said, "Look at that chair. The prisoners made this." And look at this gavel, look at the beautiful artwork. Our prisoners made this. And, she was going on and on about the beautiful art. And it was 3 Black people in the room. And all of us were just
Our prisoners.
I mean, you know, we were here
Our slaves made us.
The
Yes.
other people in the room, they're like, oh, that's beautiful.
yeah.
We like,
And we're all like, how much were they getting paid? What, you know,
not
$1.50 an hour.
exactly. So it is
Not
interesting.
To not
Pretty
even
much.
that, that's too much.
That's
Yeah,
too much.
that's too
Yeah,
That's
that's-
if you're in a special, like, I mean, the catering gets like the highest. If you're,
Yeah.
like, you're handling food within
And you
the
know,
prison
it's,
complex.
it's
everything
also
is less.
interesting to note that we have more prisoners today than were ever enslaved during the highest periods of slavery. So have we really truly gotten away from slavery, or have we just redefined it as a country and moved forward? Because our prisons are tied to farming, they're tied to electrical, they're tied to manufacturing, they're tied to clothing production. They're literally tied into every industry is making money. And then the private prisons that have come in and truly just, I mean, they've turned this thing into a money-making business where it makes almost no sense for the states to try to stop it because they're all profiting from it.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I think also, when I think about Blackness, to me it's like, I mean, defining it, I'm just back on that.
No, please.
Because I was just thinking,
Yeah.
you can't really define Blackness like you can't define love. I mean, love is like your experience. It's how you feel. It's what you've gone through. So to me, it's. I mean, there are things I think of. I think about the swagger, the soul. I think of jazz. I think of blues. I think of, I think of different things that attribute that or connect me to Blackness. But it's such a hard thing to find because we are not a monolithic people, and we have commonalities in terms of the history that bring us together that we can identify with. But it's really something that, for me, is really hard to define.
Well, it's too complex. It's too
very
deep to
complex.
just be one thing because you take it and you can take it from one spectrum of all the dark, the ugly, all the badness that we've been through, all the way to the other spectrum, all the way to culture, all the way to diversity, like as you mentioned before, how you can find black on every continent in every country. So it's so deep that you can't truly define it. So I do agree, it's almost like love. There is no one definition that could truly give justice to what it is.
Yeah. The English language wasn't built to define what Blackness is. But this is a language that we are dealt with. This is what we know, so this is the one we're trying to speak. But our body speaks differently. Our every way we move and the things that we do, it all speaks differently from what the words that we're limited to in describing what
But I
Blackness
think
is.
what has paralyzed us, I mean, coming from a black independent film perspective, what has paralyzed us is the images, is the media, is from Birth of the Nation on, and the stereotypes and the Jezebels, the Uncle Sams, all that stuff that has started when we went from radio to, well, even in radio they were doing, voices. But when you brought the image, when you brought the image there and attached it to the negativity of what Hollywood and film has brought out, that has really stunted or paralyzed us, adding stereotypes to Blackness.
Well, the sad part about that is that's not something that's done, on accident. Like I said, culture, any culture, it's taught to you. It's not something that you're born with. So America's culture is racism. And we have to deal with the fact that our oppressors, and this doesn't mean every American, but we know the majority or the people that are trying to oppress us, they control what people think and feel through TV, through radio. So if you're born and you live under this society, you have to deal with this constant indoctrination of racism, because it can go from watching a movie and seeing something that then makes you believe that if you saw me or Uche in midnight, you might feel scared. Well, why are you scared? Well, I saw a movie and this happened. And we don't realize that just the things we watch, the things we hear, the things we say, keep feeding into that, because that's what culture does.
Subliminal seduction. Subliminal seduction.
And to add to what everyone is saying, coming from Nigeria, we saw firsthand what subliminal seduction can affect, where they use different programming to manipulate the minds of young people. So making it seem like, it's okay to bleach your skin because white is right. And you being a black person in an African country is a no-no. So that's how those soft messaging affects people like me, for example, coming into this country, and I'm like, oh, well, you know, this is how things are, and this is how it should be, and then I have to unlearn the different mindsets that are going through my mind about what it is to be black in America.
And I can give you an example of this because I was on Instagram, or as my friend Amber called the Instagram earlier. It was yesterday, and Tony Baker reposted this comedian doing this monologue, and he was talking about every time there was like heading up to like apocalyptic scenarios, like end time scenarios, earth shattering, the world's gonna get destroyed scenarios. Every time they would have a movie, and he named like 4 or 5 different movies, from anything from Jamie Foxx to Danny Glover. Every time they had one of those movies, there was a black man that was president. So if an asteroid was gonna hit the earth, the black man was president. And they were like, they can't even fathom that a black man could be in a position of power running, you know, the free world as we know it, and nothing disastrous happened. But if you think about the Obama administration, that wasn't very disastrous. And when you think about how, you know, we survived. Exactly. And you think about, I remember when Joseph Biden was talking with Donald Trump, and they were talking about the idea of a pandemic during a presidency, and he tried to bring up, you know, like mad cow or H1N1. H1N1 didn't kill that many people. Not that many people died from H1N1. If you think, and there's no disrespect to the people who did pass away from it, but you think about how many people have died during this presidency, during this term, and it was like minuscule in comparison.
We actually have a pandemic you can compare directly, Ebola. Ebola ravaged the country of Congo like water. It's worse than the coronavirus that is going on right now. But it was able to be contained because of proper pandemic response from the Obama administration that had people go out to the Congo, stabilize the situation, and keep it contained. The only person that brought it in were 2 people, a nurse who was there and someone else who had been traveling around. So you could see how the pandemic response was effective to ensure that, look, it started there, let's fix it there. Rather than now where you have a scenario where the 2 countries are not communicating. So when it broke out in China, China's like...
They're calling it the China virus.
Yeah, but it's not that problem. And they're letting it spread because they don't like the other person and the other person doesn't like it. So they're not sending people over to China to curb the situation, and that's
but you know what?
get.
You were talking about leadership. You're talking about blackness, leadership, I mean, Obama couldn't have done half of what Trump has done. Half of what Trump, the lying, the redefining, I mean, just the standards of what we have to do and be. Perfect.
Better than.
In order to be in certain positions. And it's acceptable and excusable continuously if you're not black.
They never
in a
made
position of
excuses for him
power.
if he did anything that they felt was wrong. There was never an excuse. There was never like, oh, we should overlook. No, it was never anything.
Yeah, it's the hypocrisy of it. It just amazes me.
Yeah.
And he had to even fight for his identity. Trump was even challenging his identity.
Had to prove he was black.
As the most powerful man
Born
in
in
the world.
America. Look, show us your birth certificate.
There's a definite disparity.
And he still ain't show us them tax returns.
Exactly.
Well, one thing I would like to kind of contribute to bring us back more into some positivity is with Black culture. Even though historically we had our culture stripped away from us, because we are these innovators, we're able to create this new culture. You know, that's why even with the definition, what is Black culture? I can't explain it to you. It's something that's in our soul. It's something that we know. We know it's there. We know that Blackness is there, you know, from the seeing somebody on the street just doing a head nod. That's not something we're taught. It just comes from knowing, like, okay, there's an inside joke here, like you said. I don't know her. I don't know her name, but I know she's family. We know we got each other in the room. If we're the only 2 Black people in the room, we got each other. You know, that's part of building this culture, and it's fun right now because we are able to build this culture, and we're able to tie in also those traditions that Big Mama taught you, that her Big Mama taught her. So even though, you know, we're not quite sure where that tradition came from, we're still trying to carry it with us. We're making new traditions. We're trying to carry those old ones with us. And we have a great opportunity, which we've been doing, of creating this new Black culture. And it changes, it shifts, it morphs. It, you know, like you were saying, there was that time period in the 60s and 70s, James Brown, I'm Black and I'm proud. I think we kind of went away from that for a while. We got a little comfortable. We thought, mama, we made it. And now, I think we're having a resurgence of that, you know, with embracing natural hair and embracing our different skin tones, you know, and we have a really great opportunity with our Blackness to define our Blackness any way we want to. There is no one definition. You know, going back to what you said, Vocab, like there is no definition for it. They're trying to put these words to something that you can't put words to. There are no words to Blackness. It's something that's ingrained in us. It's in our DNA. And so that makes it fun. Even though, you know, we get oppressed, we have the blues, you know, sometimes we're down in the dumps just because we're Black. I still wouldn't want to wake up any other way. It's still fun. It's still
fun,
flavorful.
but it's still a struggle though. It's a constant struggle. I mean, you're still, if you look at, there's still a bunch of firsts. In 2021, there's still a bunch of firsts. We're still fighting, you know, Black women still fighting for roles and, you know, for decent roles that are substantially substantive in films. I mean, there's still a constant struggle to overcome everything. We have to constantly prove ourselves. You know, when someone else is uncomfortable, we have to make them, I mean, it's always on us. It is. It's a burden.
Yeah,
it's a burden in a sense, but it's something that I don't know. You just got to be on down for, and because the opportunities are still not there. I think we're still second thought. I mean, I started the San Antonio Black International Film Festival because it wasn't a thought. I think people don't naturally think Black. And when you're in positions of power and you're white or you're Hispanic, you don't naturally think Black. It's not. I don't think that there's even. I don't think there's an evilness to it or anything. I think that it's just you don't think it. You don't think. I mean, I always think Black first. If I'm going to hire somebody, I'm going to hire Black first. I'm going to do Black first. But that mindset, that consciousness, color culture consciousness, that mindset is not there for those who don't connect to it.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the whole idea of collective consciousness. What was interesting to me to go back to what happened with the insurrection and the treason of the Capitol, state Capitol. It was like one of the times in history where I'm not sure if white people had been through that before, where they collectively felt shame for the actions of other white people. And it was interesting to see that, people crying, people feeling that distraught, because it's people being befuddled, and they, you know, just seeing when Donald Trump got elected, they were like, I was so blindsided by that. I didn't see that happening. And how they were all kind of like,
we've been saying it for the past 4 years.
Black
it's coming.
people, and Dave Chappelle even did his skit like, we're not surprised. This is not taking us by surprise. We're not shocked at all. You know, we've been waiting for this to happen. You know, we've been like, okay, this was only a matter of time before. Yeah, it was only a matter of time to us. And in situations, like Black people were well acquainted with collective shame. We're well acquainted with collectively feeling a lot of experience, and we search each other out and we find each other. We're always going to find each other, and we're always going to come to a place where we are connecting. And it's like you see another Black person struggling with something, it's a given. It's inherent to say, how can I assist you? How can I make it better? How can I lighten that load for you, or celebrate you, or whatever it is that we're doing? It's even the way we learn, which it's funny, it's interesting, like when you see Black children in the school system, Black children, they come together to learn. It's not, I'm sitting in here in this class by myself and I'm trying to learn this experience. It's like, no, we're sharing everything because that's our culture. That's what we do, you know.
And well, go ahead.
Oh,
You-
no, go ahead. I was just saying that's interesting.
I'm just saying in terms of the learning that connects to education, which connects to history, which has been something that is taken away from us. I didn't get so much of history until I went to an HBCU. There was nothing taught to me from first grade through 12th grade in terms of just the basics, civil rights, we were enslaved, but all of the people, the sheroes and heroes in history were hidden from me until I became conscious and had teachers and people that taught real talk about Blackness, about Black people, about Black history. So there's so much in the educational system, in the policy system, in the political system, in the social and economic system that we are deprived of learning and getting that information. And so it's hard to kind of get through, especially like I said, it has to start at kids. It's hard to get through it unless you have people that truly you can connect with and have these intellectual conversations or learn history or go beyond what the internet is teaching, 2 words, 3-second promos or whatever. But we have to take it among ourselves to, like I said, start young to educate our children, our grandchildren with Black books, Black images, Black music. We have to do the extra.
Well, where we have failed at as a whole, as a community, is allowing the oppressor to control our education. Because with all the good things that we've got from education and from our educational system, we've also allowed them to shape and redefine our experience as Black people. So I do agree with you. We have to take it on ourselves now to say, until we get to the point where we have these studies actually being implemented in our schools, what can we do to make sure our children are getting that type of education? Because if you don't know where you truly come from, then it's hard to understand where you're going. Right. And we continue to let them perpetrate on our kids that we come from slaves, that we come from nothing, that we come from mud huts, that we've been rescued to be and we're honored to be here, instead of saying, no, you come from kings
Egypt.
and queens. You come from, you know what I mean,
Royalty.
dynasties. You come from royalty.
Right.
Pick
And
your
tribes.
head up and try,
Because the collective of the tribe, the collective of the village coming together to do everything is so important.
Exactly. And so I think we have to take that on ourselves to say, hey, this is important that we teach our young kids this, because as you start to carry yourself with that sense of pride, then you start to really truly realize who we are as a people and the impact not only that we can have, but the impact we've already had. Most people don't even realize we control culture.
Yeah,
We have a
dictate.
very
Not economically.
powerful...
Not economically.
Not economically, no, but
we're getting
actually,
there.
yes, economically.
We're
We just
getting
haven't
there.
figured
We
out
just
how to
don't.
make it work for us. Because everything that
Yeah,
we do
Black
is
Panther proved
taken,
that.
flipped on us. They make all the money and we just get the job. So you take rap,
We
for
influence.
instance. Rap has influenced culture like you wouldn't believe it. You'll have a white kid in Stone Oak buying a rap CD and dressing like this rapper in you know what I mean? So we define the culture. However, who owns that rap company that's gonna get paid off of that? So it's like, we have a very powerful voice. We just never end up benefiting off of that. Not in the same way that other races do. They always benefit off of our strengths.
Yeah.
I will say when it comes to education, for San Antonio, we've had some individuals come out and create things to educate, i.e. even the film festival, your international film organization. There are schools like San Antonio Preparatory Community School. It's a Black woman superintendent runs it. She started going for it. SS Prep, that's another organization, school that is coming up. And also there is, and for the last 30 years, there's actually been a homeschool network made up of African American mothers within San Antonio that's been thriving for the last 30 years. And they actually did the African market, and they always congregate during the African market time, and they bring their kids out. So there are those pockets that are living, but that goes to our next question of accessibility, because every city is having this kind of revival where Black people are trying to change the narrative, but accessibility is where we're not able to gain that knowledge or understanding. You said it very well. Only until you go to HBCU when you started to educate yourself about what Black culture is. How do we bring the accessibility where it's already available within cities, like even San Antonio, where we're only 7-8% Black by their count. That's a whole nother conversation. But by their count, how do we bring that information to young people, to families, to parents effectively?
I think something that occurred to me when you were talking, I was thinking about, well, this is Harambe. It's the pulling together. And it goes back, we have to get back to African principles. Because in Africa, all of those things that was the civilization, that was the society, that was the culture. It was taught to the sharing. No individual is in a situation by themselves, no matter who you are. And it's the same as just like when I was a kid. It didn't matter where I was. If there was a Black mama in the room, she was my mama in that moment if my mama wasn't in the room.
If you were
and she was
acting
going to correct me, and she was going to make sure that I got out of that room okay. And we have to take the responsibility for each other, and that is something that tried to be stripped away from us in the whole idea of colonization. And so if we get back to the principles that came from our African, roots, then, and that accessibility I think is a part of it. And so not being selfish, not being like that mindset of I'm alone in this struggle and I have to keep everything to myself. That's not even how we think.
No.
You're right.
It really isn't.
Right.
So if we can get back to that and hold on to that and never learn any other thought process or any other way to be, and we don't let ourselves be divided by any other influences, then we will get back to that.
But that's hard. I mean, I hate to be the devil advocate here,
Yeah.
but Big Mama is dying, Papa's going away. Those are the ones that held that mentality of helping in the village and other. It's like the more educated we've become, the more that integrated we've become, that has weakened what Grandma, Big Mom, and what they've all put in us. The kids now, for me, it's like they're growing apart from that we attitude, the embracing, taking care of, to a me attitude. So for me, it feels like it's getting harder the more we progress in the technology. Is taking Black kids, well, there's already a disparity there because we don't have access to the technology. But it feels like it's taking the we mentality, the village mentality away. Because if you think about it, I'm scared now in terms of the whole virtual learning now that's being brought on by the pandemic. What frightens me is the isolation that kids are, the virtual learning. What impact is that gonna have on socialization? I don't know, I could say 5 years from now. I don't know how long it's gonna go on. But there's a concern there from me that it's taking away the pride, the consciousness that Grandma and Grandpa put into us. They're dying. They're dying off. I mean, for us, we used to go down to Louisiana every summer. There's nothing there now. I can't even take my grandkids there now. There's nothing there. Everyone has died off. And the traditional meals that were made, all of that is in me, I'm trying to pass it on, but there's kind of a disconnect with I don't know about y'all, but for me, I'm feeling it.
I do agree, but what I was gonna say is that's kind of the beauty of what our young sister here was saying is that we have the ability to redefine. We've done it many times throughout history. So what it is the time falls on us now. The burden falls on us now to reestablish that.
I agree.
It's not, the road ahead won't be easy. It's not something overnight, but we have to make it in our own hearts and minds that we have to get back to ourselves.
Exactly.
What we've allowed to happen, we've allowed ourselves to start thinking like our oppressor in this sense of grab resources for ourselves, don't worry about the community. That's never been how we were as a people. And as we've progressed in time, as we see ourselves educating, we see ourselves doing better, we start to shift in our way of thinking. That's never been our way of thinking because we've always understood from back in basic village and tribal life that one of us is not doing good until all of us are doing good. And we have to get back on that type of way of thinking. So I do agree with you 100%, but I also agree that the beauty of it is that now we have an ability to reinvent this. And another thing with the distance learning, which we know has been devastating to our youth, we also, to me, I always look at the silver lining in everything. And I feel that now we as Black people have the ability to take back over what our youth are learning.
Exactly.
So we have to take that negative that we have with the distance learning, and now you're not in that classroom setting. However, now I can also teach you some things that you need to learn about you. We live in a world where anything you need to know is at your fingertips. So there's no reason at all why we can't be putting our kids on 2 hours a day, 1 hour a day. You're gonna study blah, 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 blah. And we can be coming up with our own curriculum that's gonna help educate them in the manner which we want them educated. So I think we have to take this distance learning as a curse and a blessing, because they don't get as much of their teaching, but that also gives us chance to give them some of our teaching.
I'm prayerful.
To add to what everyone is saying, one of the key things the pandemic has taught me and made me realize that as Black people, we're able to take up space when we're not allowed to be in their space. If you look at even social media, these are white spaces. Let's look at for real. The owners of Facebook and Twitter were not creating for us. Facebook was created initially for white people in college, primarily. Not necessarily, HBCUs even have access to later on to Facebook. Twitter was not necessarily created for us either. It was created for tech giants, who is in tech, primarily white people. But we have been able to redefine those spaces to make it our own. You hear of Black Twitter. Literally, you type in Black Twitter on Twitter and you get a whole different conversation of different people talking about separate things. You look at Facebook, Black people are able to create groups within that space to really nurture and grow, whether that's moms, dads, people going through mental health, people talking about their kids, trying to educate their kids. So yes, technology is definitely separating us because due to the pandemic, people can see each other. But one thing I know our kids are great at is that they can utilize see an opportunity like TikTok and become excellent, change the culture within that space, and hopefully bring their families together. Because I know for a fact, during the pandemic, I was learning about my African dishes through YouTube. Right.
Okay.
I had to go on YouTube because I hadn't been to my African restaurant I usually go to here in San Antonio for a while, and I had to make something to remind me of home. I couldn't, like my mom sent me the recipe, and I was like, I can't figure out this whole process out. Like it's a million different steps. But I went on YouTube, and someone had put stuff up there, and there were a bunch of comments. Literally, I found a whole forum of people that I can talk to, started chatting about recipes. Now I'm meeting other Nigerians that are like, or people that love Nigerian food that are talking about it. So, I mean, it is different because that interpersonal connection is not there, but we are resilient and we will overcome it. And I think folks will, I think we will hold on and utilize the tools around us to really.
So Blackness is game changing.
It's game
Yeah.
changing.
It's
It's
We
game
up the
changing.
game.
Think about all like the viral trends that we have started, the hashtags. I mean, Black Lives Matter. It from a hashtag birthed a new civil rights, and so it can be used to our advantage. We just have to figure out and always stay on the cusp of it, which we're pretty good at. And no matter how hard or light the oppression is, I think when things get, when we're feeling pretty good, that's when we have to remember to stay on it. Because when we don't feel that resistance or that pounding upon us, we have to stay loud. We have to continue to draw ourselves in and shift the culture no matter what.
That's what we do.
One thing I wanted to add to it was, because as a former teacher, I was worried about these kids too. I still am. I'm still worried about the PTSD that these kids, I am very, very worried about the PTSD of our healthcare workers when this is all done.
People of color.
But one thing that I know for sure is we are great at adapting.
Residual.
We are great at adapting. We have to take those traditions. Our kids are especially great at adapting. And you might not be the fun parent, you might not be the fun auntie, like me sometimes, I'm not the fun auntie, but we have to make them say, or we have to make them sit down and be a part of those traditions.
I agree.
Right.
I know,
Stop leaving them
you
out.
know, it's not the cool thing. Oh, I'd rather, you know, be on TikTok watching, seeing what all my friends are doing. You know, sometimes you got to be the not cool person, take the phone away. Sometimes you got to disconnect that Wi-Fi in the house and say, I don't know what happened. Oh, well, I
didn't pay
guess
the
that
bill
means,
this month.
yeah,
But there was a
I guess that means we
documentary
got to
on.
go
Right.
outside.
Watch and talk about it.
You know, I guess that means we got to go outside and enjoy the sun. But, you know, it is up to us, especially now me being the older and having, you know, the younger nieces and cousins and stuff, to where I do have to pass on those stories. I do have to pass on those traditions. And if it makes me the bad guy sometimes, well then, oh well, I'm the bad guy sometimes, but you're gonna remember it and you're gonna do it next. Okay, did you learn it? Okay, tell me the story about your great-grandmother again. You know, so sometimes we gotta be the bad guy, and we just got to make them, sounds bad, make them do those traditions that we, you know, want passed down.
But they don't hate it as much as we think they do.
Yeah, they really don't.
They really enjoy learning and hearing
and
it.
I remember that as a teacher, as much the biggest kids, the toughest kids that you would probably be scared of, that I knew were gang members, they would fight me. And then the moment I didn't put a writing prompt up on the board, Miss Smith, are you feeling all right? Our writing prompt isn't on the board. What are we doing today? I don't know. I'm lost. I don't know what to
want that
do.
structure.
They love that structure
yeah.
as much as they fight you for it. They love that structure. So we just got to keep at it, and it's up to us, the older folks now, to do it and make it happen and be consistent, and we'll be able to make it happen.
It is an interesting way of us as Black people, how we evolve. You know, even if we come from, you know, broken homes or places where we're not connected to our culture, at a certain point, something clicks. Something clicks, and you just feel, I need to learn my culture. And we find a way. We always find a way to connect, whatever that may be. People have their different learning curves. Some people learn at an earlier age, some people learn later in life. But for most Black people that I've met, it's always that click. And they just realize, how do I connect? And we make a way. So it's just kind of, yeah.
But yeah, it's important to talk to talk to elders, to learn from elders, to see alternative images, films, read alternative books. All of those things are critical to getting that cultural consciousness in and affirming Blackness and pride.
And you know, we need a lot more of these type of settings, these type of conversations, this type of education, if you will, because like I was saying, one of our powerful tools now is social media. And one of the ways that we've been conditioned to the position we're at now is through their constant brainwashing of culture. So we need to create now our own avenue of culture, of Black TV, of Black radio, of, you know what I mean? Where
Our
we
own
can
social
control
media.
the narrative of what our kids see, what they learn, what they feel. Because as long as that narrative's being controlled and directed for us, then it's always like the oppressor is over how you feel about yourself. Is Uche successful? Have I said he's successful? Well, Uche may say, well, I define my own success. I define my own brilliance. I define my own excellence. So we have to get away from trying to live up to their standard.
Of
And we have to recreate. No, you know, we have to let our youth know you're beautiful, you're excellent. You don't need to do anything with your hair because your hair looks excellent the way it is. That's how God made you. We have to start teaching back to ourselves our true beauty, because we've gotten away from that as we continue to listen to the propaganda that we're taught.
Exactly.
Very important. And yeah, we have to catch them at a young age. I think we all could agree with that. I even have a personal story with that, but I'm not going down that road.
Maybe the next
Maybe the next,
Part
next talk.
two. Well,
part 2.
So I think I don't want to go past our time because I respect everybody. So let's go one last time. I guess we heard the initial definition of what black is, and we've heard everyone's opinions and suggestions and thoughts of what black is. So I'll ask that question again to everyone. What is black to you?
Blackness is powerful, love, soulful, spiritual. It is a feeling of affirmation of your history, of your culture, of all that connects you to our motherland. And again, it is part of our rich culture, attached to our color, the different hues, and our consciousness, how we feel, identify with the most powerful color that there is, black.
Beautiful, beautiful.
For me, and especially in this season, blackness is leadership and responsibility. I'm responsible for all of the people that I'm connected to, and I lead, and part of leadership is also being able to follow, being able to listen. So I listen to the people around me, and I listen to my own heart and my own struggle, and I try to define the things within me that I feel need some TLC and nurture that and love on that. So black is also nurturing. And the opposite of the discomfort, I feel like the black is comforting, because people come to me a lot of times and they want to hear my opinion of something. They want my influence on it. They want my voice to be a part of it. And so I feel that it's also a form of comfort. So leadership, responsibility, and comfort.
Beautiful.
I'll have to say again, I just think that black is elegance, black is beauty, black is strength, black is resilience, black is now. You know?
There you go.
Black is
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna say it too. For me, blackness, it's family. It's, as vocab said, it's nurturing. It's comforting, and it's full. It's full. It's not empty. It's full.
There's nothing else I'd rather be.
I can agree to that.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
So, would you like to give
Oh,
what
my
you feel
definition?
black?
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
What do you feel blackness is?
Well, you know, I think black is, honestly, everyone has defined everything that I was thinking of saying. But you know, I think, you know, I always say black is the one color that can not only shock, but at the same time can also keep you enthralled in any given moment. As much as they can define, and I mean they can define black as negative, black is the one thing that is beautiful and universal, and it can never go away.
Right. Well, I would like to thank our panel, and also would like to thank the Tobin Center for letting us shoot here in this beautiful theater today. And also, thank you. Thank you, audience at home, for watching us today, and hope to see you at more DreamWeek 2021 events.
You have to do introductions.
Yeah, I still got to do introductions.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so ask if anyone has any questions. Okay. Okay.
I can't understand a word he's saying.
Would y'all like 30 seconds to talk about yourself, for your, like, maybe say like a quick bio of yourself after I do the introduction?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
after I
that's my upcoming
introduce you?
program. To pump.
right? Let me make sure.
You need a moment to get your headspace.
Your name has a Y in it, though.
Were you all wearing masks whenever you did the introduction, or did y'all take them off before?
They were off.
We've had them off the
They
whole
were
time.
off.
All right.
Oh, so like
All dramatic.
dramatic.
Put them
A
on, then
bit
take
dramatic.
them off. Before you're welcome. Before you're welcome. We're doing that.
Yes.
It's like we're starting the event.
Yeah. Sorry. Go back in time a little bit.
I mean, we did have our masks on, but right before it started.
Babuna. Babana.
Oh, Babano.
Babuna.
Abano?
All right. Okay. I'm your host today, Tiffany Smith, and your moderator will be Uche Obek
Agba.
Agba.
Just say Uche.
Uche, just say Uche.
Just say Uche. Don't worry
Okay.
about it.
Are you sure?
I am
I'll say the
positive.
full name.
Because
You're starting off.
I need to say your full name at least one time.
Uche Agba. Or Uche Na. If you're going to say my full name, it's Uche Na Agba.
Uchenna.
Since it's the introduction, right? You
Agba,
probably wanna get-
Uche na Abba.
Uche Agba. Agba.
Agba.
Agba. Agba.
Uche na Abba.
Agba.
Ba.
Ba.
Oh.
Uche na Abba. Na
He's
Abba.
telling me how to say his name. He said
Uche Naya Agba.
Uchenea Agba. Okay, don't mess me up now.
You got it.
Okay. I'm your host, Tiffany Smith, and your moderator this. Blah, blah, blah. I'm your host, Tiffany Smith, and your moderator today will be. Look, y'all got in my head. Uchina
Uchi Walla Walla,
Agba.
Uchi Bang Bang.
I know. Uchina Agba. Okay. I'm your host, Tiffany Smith, and your moderator today will be Uchina Agba. So let me go down the line and introduce our distinguished guest. First, we have Ada Babano, and she is the San Antonio Black International Film Festival
Founder and director. Yes.
founder and director, yes. Oh, next we have Uche, who will also be your moderator today,
Yes, President.
and he is with ECU
Public Relations.
Public
Uchi
Relations.
backwards.
Yes. Oh, see, I learned something today.
I never.
I know.
Okay, Papa.
And we also have Andrea Vocabs Sanderson. She is the City of San Antonio's Poet Laureate. And we have Pharaoh Clark, who is with San Antonio Black Lives Matter leader. He is San Antonio Black Lives Matter leader. Why am I getting tongue-tied on that?
Just do his whole introduction. Put your mask back on.
Right,
and
gotta come from here.
Yeah.
I know, it's just you, sorry. He is the
Leader of-
the San Antonio Black Lives Matter leader. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. And we also have Pharaoh Clark joining us. He is the San Antonio Black Lives Matter. Blah. Sorry, Pharaoh. I'm sorry.
You're almost done. That's
I know,
why you have it.
I know, that's what it
You
is.
got through the whole thing.
The last one, like,
I'm sorry.
Well, the leader of San Antonio's Black Lives Matter.
yeah.
You could say the leader of San Antonio Black Lives
Lives
Matter
Matter.
movement. Yeah,
Movement.
that'd be
The
easier to
leader
say.
of San Antonio Black Lives Matter. Okay. Okay, here we go. And we also have with us Pharaoh Clark, the leader of San Antonio's Black Lives Matter. Did I say that right?
Yes.
That was right.
Okay.
30-second introduction.
Oh,
Like,
Oh.
we're worried about what you
Okay.
do.
would you like, yeah.
Yeah, so my name is
Oh, I
Ada
guess,
Bobino.
sorry. Should I introduce you again? Sorry, try it one more time. Okay, would you like to, would you like to quickly tell us about San Antonio Black Film Festival?
Okay. So again, my name is Ada Bobineau, the founder and director of San Antonio Black Lives. Oh no.
Black Lives Matter. Took your job. See, I'm sorry.
I'm trying to hold myself here.
Okay.
Been doing good this whole
Who
time.
am I? Okay.
I'm sorry. Okay. All right. All right. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about what you do?
Sure. I'm a Black independent filmmaker born and bred in San Antonio, Texas, and the founder and director again of San Antonio Black International Film Festival. SABIF 2021 will be here in San Antonio for our third year, starting September 30th through October 3rd. And we have a special Dream Week presentation. We'd like everybody to tune in on the 17th. The showing of the first Rainbow Coalition, and featured by a local independent filmmaker here in San Antonio. And we're having a panel discussion from activists here in the San Antonio area. So that's going to be January 17th at 2 o'clock.
Great, great. Thank you. Uche, would you like to tell us a little bit about what you work on?
Of course. My name is Uchenaya Agba, and I'm an entrepreneur and business owner here in San Antonio. My wife and I started the first, and hopefully, I hope not the only one, but public relations firm in San Antonio. We noticed a disparity within the community where our voices were not being told within the media, and we felt that there was a need for something to happen, which is why we started this amazing, amazing business. We're 10 years strong now, so it's very exciting. And we've been in business and in good health, and we love San Antonio so far. So yeah, making it work.
Great, great. And vocab, please tell us.
I'm Andrea Vocab Sanderson. I am the first African American Poet Laureate of San Antonio, Texas, but I am the 5th Poet Laureate in the succession of Poet Laureates. I came into this position at the beginning of the pandemic, so April 1st, which, you know, everything started shutting down at the end of March, and April 1st it was announced. I didn't get to have my ceremony in City Hall and all that good stuff, but it doesn't matter because it's just been a pleasure to lead in this capacity. People were always like, what is a Poet Laureate? I'll tell you. It is an elected or official city position that I hold where I represent the literary arts. It's my job to celebrate, to invite the community to celebrate the literary arts, and to create initiatives and to get you reading and get you writing. And it's really simple. It's just a public office. I mean, some of the responsibilities that come along with it is I can be commissioned to write poems on behalf of different events as well. But that's basically the overall idea of it is I represent the literary arts. And it's something that I've done for years as far as creating events and coaching, leading workshops, teaching spoken word and writing and all that wonderful stuff. So it's just a thing that I've been doing for about, I say I started hosting events maybe around 2006, but I've been, you know, a poet my whole life.
All right, and Pharaoh, please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
My name is Pharaoh Clark, and I'm a civil rights leader here in San Antonio. Also a founder of Reliable Revolutionaries, which is a civil rights organization that tries to engage millennials and get them active in civic involvement.
Nice, very important work. All of these individuals are doing very important work here in the city.
Thank you.
All right, yes, good.
I think we're good. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's my car before they tore it
You
away.
said you were a singer. You're a singer too.
I do a lot of
Vocalist.
stuff. We would have been here a long time.